Hey friends, welcome back to another video. My name is Hema and welcome to my booktube channel. As you read in today's title, I do want to share with you some books I want to read before summer ends and fall officially begins. They're what I like to call transitional reads. I personally like to mentally prepare myself for the new season. And sometimes I'm also not quite ready to let go of the previous season. So a lot of these books happen during the summer, some of them happen during the fall, so they'll make more sense to some people. Some of them, though, I don't know how to explain them to you other than they make sense. Like the topics or the vibes just make sense for me to read them during this time of the year. Now, as a mood reader, it can be a little difficult to explain why certain books feel like the perfect thing to read at a certain time or point in your life. So if you're not a mood reader, that is completely fine. Feel free to add these books if you find them interesting to your TBR and read them whenever you feel like it. With that being said, let me show you the first book I have on the list, and that is A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking by T. Kingfisher. This is a cozy middle grade fantasy story. It's following a 14-year-old girl. She's working at a bakery, at her aunt's bakery to be more specific, and she loves her job. She loves the simplicity of her life, making bread and making people happy through the art of bread making and baking. However, unfortunately, one day she opens up her aunt's bakery and finds the body of a deceased girl in her bakery, and she gets framed for this murder. Now, of course, she is innocent. She stumbles upon the deceased girl's little brother, and they both go on a quest together to uncover why all of these other murders are also happening and why they're all wizards. The main character is also a wizard, and in my opinion, she has a very special and cool magic talent, which involves bread. She can animate gingerman and work with dough, and I think it's very awesome. However, our main character believes it's a completely useless magical ability. Now, of course, as we uncover these mysteries, gingermen are going to be a big part of the plot as well. And that sounds super exciting and super interesting. T. Kingfisher is one of those authors that I always trust that I'm going to like her books. She writes in a way that makes you know, or like that allows you to really know that is T. Kingfisher's writing. And she adds topics in there that could be a little bit darker, and she has some sort of like weird humor in there, but also makes it feel so atmospheric and cozy at the same time. I love her duality and I love her writing style, and most of her stories are novellas, like they're quite short, and she's able to give you a very complex full plot, characters, and everything. This is a little bigger, but again, it is middle grade, so you'll read it quite quick. It's almost 300 pages, but I'm sure it's going to be very interesting and very fun. The next book I have on my list is our first contemporary romance, and that's Not in Love by Ali Hazelwood. Ali Hazelwood is another of my favorite authors when it comes to contemporary romance. My favorite book has been Love Theoretically. I love her STEM series. They are chef's kiss for me. I have loved every single one. I have no issues with any of these series. I definitely can agree that they can be a little cringe and a little too quirky sometimes, but to me that is the fun of it, and I do find that very, very endearing. However, Not in Love is a little bit different. She actually writes here a note at the beginning of the book for the reader, which I appreciate, but I also feel kind of bad that an author has to give like a heads up, I'm changing stuff up, I hope you don't get mad at me type of note, so that the reader and her audience doesn't like bully her for like changing her style. I think that if an author has a story to tell, they should tell it and allow the book to find its own people and its target audience. And if people don't like the book, then they shouldn't be mean about it. You get me? Anyways, the note says, "Dear reader, I wanted to drop a quick note to let you know that Not in Love is tonally a little different from other works I've published in the past. Rue and Eli have dealt with and still deal with the fallout from issues such as grief, food insecurity, and child neglect. They're eager to make a connection but are not sure how to go about it except through a physical relationship. The result is, I think, less of a rom-com and more of an erotic romance." I actually started reading this last night and I got pretty ahead because it's a very short book as well. I definitely see how it's different. We're not getting like the silly little vibes from the story. It's definitely more serious in tone, and the relationship dynamic between both of these characters, I don't know how I feel about it. I do prefer when my books have romance first, spice later, but this is of course the opposite of that. That's not a bad thing. That doesn't make Ali Hazelwood a horrible writer or that she's going downhill or anything like that. She's always able to successfully execute her plots the way she talks about more serious tones here in the book. She does it with a lot of care and awareness, and I like her brain. I like how she writes the male main characters and the female characters. So if you're looking for something a little bit more serious while still having that Ali Hazelwood vibes in it, I think this would be a great book for that. The next book on my list is just Abby Jimenez. I know this is just for the summer. I actually got this while I was at Target the other day because it was on sale. I'm not sure if this is the best place to start with Abby Jimenez, but I will do more research and figure out what's the best place to start so that I can read Abby Jimenez. She is an author that's growing in popularity, and a lot of people are really enjoying her stories. Creators that I really trust, for example, have had really positive things to say about Abby Jimenez and her stuff and her stories, and I'm super excited to read it. And it has more of a summery vibe, so during the days that I feel like I'm kind of sad because I don't want to let go of summer, maybe I'll read something like this. The next book on my list is a highly anticipated read for me. I'm so excited that I'm finally reading this book, and that is Daughter of the Forest by Juliet Marillier. This has been on my TBR for like a year and a half, and the reason I didn't read it sooner was because I had expectations in my mind, and I don't like reading books that way. I love respecting the author enough by not having any expectations in my brain when I read the book. I want to experience the story the way the author intended, and I feel like I wasn't in the right mind for that for a while because I had all of these expectations just because I was very excited. But now I'm in a completely different place. I don't have those expectations anymore. I just have the excitement and eagerness to read the story, and I also started reading it last night, and I'm 100 pages in, and it is so good. I'll read you the synopsis here in the back. It's quite short. It says, "Break the silence and the curse remains forever. Devoted daughter, beloved sister, Sorsha is the light of the Seven Waters clan. Then suddenly her father and brothers are lost to her, bewitched by her new stepmother. To reclaim their lives, Sorsha leaves the only safe place she has ever known. When she is kidnapped by enemy forces and alone in a foreign land, it seems that there will be no way for Sorsha to break the spell. But true magic knows no boundaries, and Sorsha must choose. Fulfill a vow or gamble on a love that could heal her world, or shatter it." Based on what I've read so far of the book, I definitely think this is a perfect time to read something like this. We follow Sorsha and her brothers since they were little, and we get a very complex, very detailed world, and it's amazing. The way the author writes reminds me of a traditional epic fantasy story with a lot of magical elements through it. It's very mystical, magical. The writing is beautiful. The world and the place that we're in is atmospheric, and the author does a great job in immersing you in the story. My favorite part so far has been the relationship dynamics between Sorsha and her six brothers, and how it's not sunshine and rainbows all the time, but they always have that love for each other. All of her brothers are growing up, and so we have like that coming of age difficulty and how that affects the entire relationship between the siblings and that dynamic. And I'm really enjoying reading so much about it, and so I'm excited to continue with the story. We also know that Sorsha will eventually have to go into that magical forest on an adventure quest to help out her brothers, and I'm excited for that part. I have read 100 pages, and I don't even think the plot has officially started, and I'm already loving it so much. After reading something like that, I think I'm going to be in the mood for The House Witch. As you can tell, this has definitely more of a fall vibe. If you can see the cover, it is beautiful. I'll also put the name of the author here because I don't want to mispronounce that. But this is an indie book. I love these kinds of covers. It looks like a thick book, but the pages are quite thick and the writing is also kind of big. And based on the synopsis here in the back, which I'll read to you briefly, it sounds like it'll be very cozy. It says, "A heartwarming and humorous blend of fantasy, romance, and mystery, featuring a witch with domestic powers and the royal household he serves. Dinner." Basically, we're following a male main character, and he is the royal cook. And it also looks like he has a secret identity that he's trying to hide, but eventually his identity comes to light, and then he finds himself entangled within like castle politics and all that, while also experiencing a very cute romance with another character. This same author also has another cozy series, so my hands are going to be full for this fall if I end up enjoying this author's works. Next up, I have a book that's more in the high epic fantasy genre, and that is Malice by John Gwynne. This book is definitely thick. The pages are also quite thick and the writing is a little big, but it's a thick book, and it has, I think, 4 books in total in the series. And I'm so excited to read this one because John Gwynne, the author, has been praised a lot on social media by high epic fantasy readers all over the internet because he is able to give you a really good characterization of what happens during war and how to, like, he's very good at writing battle scenes and war scenes, and apparently he's really good at being able to bring in the reader into the story to have an immersive experience while also showing you what these things do to the characters. And apparently he also gives the characters very epic moments. We also follow a bunch of characters, so it's a multiple POV, which gives me a lot of room to root for certain characters and kind of know a little bit more of the plot and have more complexity in the story. Oh, and also the thing that really sold me on this book, aside from the author being talented in writing battle sequences, was that it was humans versus giants, and that sounds like an amazing concept, and I would love to read something like this. The last book on my list is also high epic fantasy, but it's in the grim dark or darker side of fantasy, and that is Jade City by Fonda Lee. This book has been everywhere on my For You page or anywhere in social media. A lot of people love this book. Apparently it has a very unique and interesting magic system and concept of a plot. I'll read you a little bit of the synopsis. It says, for centuries, honorable green-born warriors have used magical jade to enhance their abilities and defend the island of Kikon from foreign invasion. Now the war is over and a new generation vies for control of Kikon's bustling capital city. 4 siblings of the powerful Kaul family must prepare for battle, and the fragile peace between the clans is about to break. Some people said this was like gangs but in fantasy with really cool magic system, and apparently it's going to be a heart-wrenching story. It's a trilogy, so I'm very excited to read this one as well. So those were all my transitional reads for the new season. I'm very excited to read all of them, and I want to know if you read any of them. Let me know what you think of them, or if you're reading something else, let me know, because I always enjoy and appreciate new recommendations. But on to the next video, I will see you next time. Bye bye.